Jesus. What is up, Famalam? So it looks like the motion to seal the hearing transcript was approved. Was it? No shot. Oh, actually, I would need to look at how that works. Oh my God, don't do this to me. Okay. Bro, I think they put like a, the mortgageoids are laughing at us right now, rentoids. Stay strong, okay? Stay strong. Nice shirt. It is a nice shirt, actually. Go to destiny.gg/merch. And if anybody tries to take it from you, you can defend yourself with a wonderful Damascus forged in the fires of hell knife, okay? Oh, it's this one. Vintage, by the way. It is. Doesn't the property manager usually give you a heads up if there's going to be a disturbance in the building? They probably emailed me. I mean, it's not like I can do anything about it. Usually when I get emails like that, I just delete them. It's not like I can say, please don't renovate. Will you personally sign the COA for the knife? Yes. I'm signing certificates for all of them. Part of the reason why the price is high is because we have to ship it around a lot to do dumb shit or whatever. But it's also to block the pores from having it, okay? This is a fashion icon. It's a status symbol. I can't be allowing brokies to be wielding DGG memorabilia, all right? Not the knives. Wait, I didn't see anything granted for sealing the order. The thing is, here I'm actually not sure. When it comes to the transcript, if they approve a motion to seal the transcript, does that just mean that there won't be a transcript that's available on the public docket? Would that prevent me from publishing it if we bought it? I'm not sure. I actually don't know how that would work. But there's no way that they can... I don't think you can retroactively... Because again, this was like a public hearing, right? Like, for instance, obviously I had one fan that was there, and he's free to say what he wants about it, and I don't think the court could hold him in contempt or do anything like that because it was a public hearing. I don't think you can do that. Is this transcript available right now? Okay, I don't fully understand how this works. My lawyer told me this, but I don't believe it. But I don't think he would lie to me. I thought that my understanding would be that you have like stenographers that work for the court, and people that do transcripts are employees of the court, and so they do a transcript, they make it available for the court. That was my understanding. But my lawyer told me that transcribers sell the transcript, and that's how they make money. But maybe just for like official... No, this wasn't an official proceeding. Maybe just for trial, the court has a stenographer or something, but... This looks like it was filed yesterday. Oh my fucking God. So, and orders look the same. Orders just look like orders, right? There's not going to be anything unique or crazy inside of the order. So a proposed order is what you're basically asking the judge. Listen, so first you file for the order, and you make your arguments for it, and then you file a proposed order saying, this is what we would want the order to look like. This is what a proposed order looks like, because it was proposed in front of it, and it says this is how you would write the order granting plaintiff's motion to have June 3rd evidentiary hearing transcript filed under seal, and then you write out the order that basically the judge would just have to sign. But it's a proposed order, so the court has to accept it first. Wait, so what would happen if you didn't pay for the transcript? Some dipshit would be sitting there for free hoping that somebody buys the shit he's writing? Yeah, that seems silly, right? That seems not possible, no? Or maybe they get paid an hourly fee and selling the transcript is how they make more money? Maybe? Can't you buy the transcript? We bought the transcript immediately. It's like $1,100. My lawyer said we'll have it either tomorrow or early next week. Hoping tomorrow. It's 135 pages. Based. I had fuck me, I got like 4 hours of sleep. I had a brain blast this morning. I don't know if we went over this on stream, or maybe we did, and I don't think I made as big of a deal out of it as I should have. I think we talked about this. I just didn't make as big a deal out of it as I think it was. During the direct examination, so direct examination is when you're questioned by your own attorney, and then cross-examination is when the other attorney is questioning you. So direct examination is generally when you ask yourself questions to basically get your statements on the record, right? This is what you want to be a part of the record. This is how you're building your credibility, and these are the things that you want the court or the jury to know, right? I believe it was during the direct examination. So when Doe was answering her own attorney, her and the judge had a back and forth, and she told the judge that she had sent all of the material that we'd made, not just one video, but all three of them, to her ex-boyfriend. I've never been told that in my life. I have never been made aware of that. I reread all of our messages surrounding that date and then afterwards, and that's never been communicated to me ever. Which is interesting if the legal argument you're going by is it has to be explicit, every time requested permission, consent. But, Jesus. Fuck, I want that transcript so bad. Oh my God. Oh. God, I'm so happy we had that hearing. Oh my God, that hearing makes me feel so sane. Holy shit. I think you did mention this before. I don't recall hearing. Oh, you did mention this before. Oh, maybe I did, or I skimmed it. So, but yeah, Jesus. Could a person like Zip theoretically write down everything really fast to get a transcript this way? I could be wrong, but I think all electronics are banned from being brought into the court except for by attorneys. So an ordinary person wouldn't be able to bring a laptop. I guess if they wrote really fast, maybe. This literally started right as my streaming started. Are you serious? I gotta say, bro, this is a weird world where you're all recording each other and sending it around. Sure, I guess. I mean, like, I'm sympathetic to people that think that, which is fine, but they, my whole issue with this from the very beginning has basically been that, like, for a long time I was part of a very horny world, which is fine. I'm cool with it. I'm not here to slut shame or anything. I love horny worlds, or at least I partook more in it. Where there's just like a lot of horny people doing like a lot of horny things, which is fine, which is cool, and which was based, and which was fun. But then the issue that I had is that another party has come out, whoever leaked all the stuff, and then as a result of that, there's been this like ultra high fucking intensity, high resolution spotlight on only me. And if you're looking into a weird world and you're literally only getting a singular person's view of what's going on, like it almost feels like I'm going to tell you the story about this guy. I'm going to tell you a story about this European dude, and this guy shot and killed 7 different people. Sometimes he was with friends, sometimes he was on his own, but he shot and murdered. It was like 7 different people. One maybe even in cold blood. I don't know if he had a weapon on him at the time. And then like at the end of all of this, you're like, okay, Jesus, well, like when was this or what was going on? It was like, well, this was 1941. It was World War II. He was a soldier from, I guess, Germany or whatever. It's like, okay, well, I feel like that changes things a little bit, no? It's frustrating because I see some people are saying things like, I've seen some comments where it's like, this doesn't actually change anything about how I feel about justice or whatever. It just means that both of them were horrible people. Well, or it just means there was like a shared understanding of like, that this was the understanding at the time, but Jesus Christ. Fuck me, I want that transcript so bad. Hopefully we get it soonish. If we got it tomorrow, that'd be awesome. Did you tell your lawyer that you'll talk to Stream about your legal stuff, so if they mess up, thousands of people know? I mean, they know, because it shows up with like every fucking court filing, but my legal team they're very, very, very good at what they do. I mean, the guy is, he's had multiple very, very high profile clients, right? From Prince Andrew, I think, was probably the most high profile one. And then there were a few other very high profile clients. So they're used to having like a lot of public attention and everything else. And he was very good during cross and direct examination, I guess. He was, yeah, I didn't know he was like actually, I still don't know if he does like actual, you call them trial lawyers, right? People that are actually presenting during trial. I don't know if he does that, but yeah, he was very good during questioning. You came in way too weak in January when you made the statement. It seems crazy that with each hearing, we're getting more and more details. The reason why I came in weak or whatever, or why I wasn't sure in January is, it's hard. I'll do a big retrospective at the end, but you got to understand that this is a world that I've been a part of for a long time. This is a world that I've been horny in for a long time. And I think there's been like one time ever with some weird, I found out she was an Andrew Tate fan, some weird person like leaked some DMs of mine to some other person or whatever. It was cringe. But this is, and then all of a sudden on like one day, there's all of these people coming out and saying shit, and there's like the conspiratorial part of my brain literally goes into overdrive because I have no idea. Like all these different figures are coming together. Some are friends, some are ex-friends, some are, yeah. So for a while, the first thing I had to do was just understand like what the fuck is actually going on, because I don't know, like, actually, I don't give a fuck. I'm honest. It's not about like saying something that will incriminate you in a lie. It's about saying something and then wondering like, if I say this, or if I, reveal this, or if I talk about this, like how is this going to look if I have to, say something else later. So it's hard to, without knowing everything that's going to be on the table, without knowing somebody's going to clip this and say, oh, there are other accusations, and he was just waiting to see if those people found out or some bullshit. But it's not. It's just like I'm trying to think of an example. This is common sense if you've dealt with like law enforcement or court stuff. You just don't want to say more than what's necessary, basically. You don't want to drag other people's business out into the open. You don't want to drag unnecessary info out into the open. So you have to wait for like kind of the cards to fall and see like, okay, what exactly are we dealing with on the table? And then once that's down, and then especially, oh, the second part too is I have to wait and see like what the other side wants to bring to court. Because imagine we have this whole fight publicly. I don't want to give the other side the opportunity to hone their argument for free, basically, right? But I mean, I think I made that joke like a year ago where it's like, oh, court's really cool because you have to lay out all of your arguments and it has to be like logical. You can't just bring up random bullshit. And so now that we're in the court environment, actually, now that like we're in the litigation process, like we can see everything going on, Oh my God. There was a lot of coordination behind the scenes, people pushed to take positions, etc. Yeah, I agree. There absolutely was. Which is, I think that's why Gisticle, for instance, doesn't want to be an official part of the case. I think he wants to be beyond subpoena power or beyond any kind of discovery, because I think that Gisticle is probably working in a highly coordinated manner with a lot of people. And I think plaintiff is probably working with Gisticle as well, because you saw those messages between them. So I think there's probably a high degree of coordination there, where they're trying to do reputational attacks or trying to recruit more people for whatever lawsuits or... Oh my God. Aren't you already helping them with the streaming? Not really. So the thing that you have to balance out, so the conventional wisdom is always given of like, don't ever talk about your court case. And I think that this is true this is true for all private people, right? Why would you ever talking about your court case it's almost never going to benefit you, and you can end up getting yourself in a lot more trouble. And people are usually not as smart as they think they are. I would say me included, except I know that like even I've been like pretty careful just not to, because I who knows what would come up where. It's just, you have to be careful for that. But the challenge when you're a public figure is that this is a civil case, and at the end of the day, the only thing I ever really stand to lose is money. That's it. It's a civil case. So the only thing I stand to lose is money. So if I don't talk about anything ever, and I'm losing money as a result of that, well, like, what am I actually doing? What's going on, right? I'm sacrificing reputation and I'm incurring financial harm to to what? Try to stave off reputational and financial harm in a court case? Like, it doesn't make sense. So you have to balance out like the public figure aspect of it. This was one of the things that I think Kiwi Farms and Justical Server and everybody was like, this is, and esports dipshit man is like, this is why you should never talk about your case. Like, his lawyer must hate him right now. He can't talk about it. He should never be talking. It's like, bro, I'm literally getting destroyed. I'm getting raped. I've lost like 40,000 subs, you know, multiple sponsorships have canceled. I have to say something. What do you mean? Why would I not? It's a civil case. The only thing I can lose is money. So why would I not talk to try to stave off some of the losses? What do you mean? Fucking don't say anything and just sit there and eat all the losses. It's retarded. It's a civil case. The only thing I stand to lose is money. So yeah. Isn't it hilarious that none of the drama slop tubers are even touching anything about this case? They're probably just waiting for it to finish. And I'm sure once it finishes, if it all gets tossed and it goes my way, there'll be some people that do retrospectives on it, but... Is there a tiny bit of sympathy for Doe? The more that comes out, the more it feels like she got gaslit by people that hate you. No, not really. I think I'm too forgiving sometimes. This got stressed to me a lot over the past several months by some people. I mean, these are adults, like... Your stated goal is over and over again, like, that person has conducted themselves in a way that I think is probably one of the most disgusting, like, things I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm sorry, it just is, but... Isn't Lily a snake for assuming you were guilty until proven innocent? No, if anything, she probably just doesn't want to be associated with, like, crazy dramatic stuff. She already gets enough shit for being friends with me. It's fine, I don't care. Why do you say she acted so disgustingly? Plaintiff's counsel, or her, I don't know who's responsible. I hope we get to find out. The filings have been disgusting. Naming people in my life, first and last name, for my ex-wife, bringing up her name over and over again, and then linking directly to online websites where you can go and look up revenge porn of us is disgusting. Especially if she thinks she needs to proceed under pseudonym. Why is she giving other people's names? That's just disgusting behavior, in my opinion. The inability to protect any of their witnesses, the fuck-ups in all of their filings, having, for instance, one of the witnesses who's identified by the screen name Abby MC come under protective seal and then redacting the name, but not redacting the screen name, or showing Justicle's picture, for instance. It's just bad. This is egregious behavior. Their meet and confers have just been disgusting. They clearly aren't trying to reach any type of like good faith resolution. They, I do think they got in over their heads, and I think that they thought that I would eventually just buckle and settle because I didn't want to spend the money on it. But I told actually, to be honest, even my attorneys didn't believe that. People say that attorneys just want money. But even mine were telling me in the beginning, like, it could be a hefty fee, but like this would be better to settle because it's going to cost a lot. And I said, I'd rather pay. I'll pay 3x the cost of whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, there's no way I'm going to pay out money to somebody that is extorting and blackmailing me and threatening me with a suicide and a note to go live afterwards. Fuck that. I'll pay $500,000. I don't give a fuck. I'll go stream more. Fuck that. No, there's like principally, hell no. That's insane to me, but. Why did Lonerbox, etc. claim to know stuff behind the scenes that wasn't released yet that would change the whole perspective? I don't know, because he's dating Pixie and she probably told him a bunch of shit. I mean, you're not going to, like, assume your girlfriend is lying to you or whatever, right? Did Belina participate in this lawsuit, or do you suspect so, or do you think she's just stayed out of it? She's probably stayed out of it. I think she has her life and she's, like, living her stuff and she's doing her stuff. I doubt she wants anything to do with any of this. And I don't have any, like, ill will against her. I don't hate her or anything like that. We had our breakup. It was dramatic, but that's it. People grow up, we move on. Most of our relationship was fun. Like, what are you going to say? When you say showing Jew Stalker's picture, do you mean his profile pic from the DMs? Or did they somehow leak that pic where we found out he's a... no, I meant from the showing his profile picture for the DMs was stupid. She doesn't want to fumble what she's got going now. Oh, probably, yeah. She said as much, I think, to the judge. If we get the transcript, we'll see it. Because she was saying, like, the reason why I did this lawsuit is because he has to be stopped. He needs to be punished. And if I don't do this lawsuit, even though I think this is what, when she started to break down or whatever, she's like, if I don't do this, even though I know it's going to be hard, that he's going to keep victimizing women or whatever. I was like, okay, dude. Oh no, I meant your ex-wife not being involved. I think that, I mean, like, for all of me and Melina's differences or whatever, like, I don't think Melina is, like, publicly, like, a very dramatic person. I don't know if, I don't think she gets much out of that. I don't think she would want to. I don't think, it just wouldn't be a thing that I think she would be as interested in, yeah. Do you think these lawyers might have something personal against you or against your online shit? The arguments they've made seem crazy online. Like I said, my guess and the feeling that I get, especially with that Joanne Peters, like her being an immigration lawyer from Puerto Rico, my feeling is that she at least is a family friend. And maybe the attorneys are trying to do like a personal favor, or it might be that the attorneys are aware that I have a decent amount of money and they think that if they, and this is why they can keep doing this case, if they're doing it pro bono or on a contingency, they think that if I settle, or they could get some huge payday from it maybe, but... It seems you can at least recoup attorney's fees for frivolous, malicious filings under Rule 11. Federal Rule Civil Procedure 11. How likely is it that Joanne is actually Lauren or Lauren is ghostwriting for her? That can't be the case. Would you really risk your... That's like some automatically lose your license shit, I would imagine, right? Are you going to seek attorney fees when you win? I have to, there's like a huge personal moment that I have to figure out how I want to publicly be, what I want my demeanor to be towards all of this when this ends, so. I have the angel and the demon, so I don't know, I have to think about it. But as a business, don't these lawyers see that they aren't going to get anything? When do they cut their losses? I mean, I don't think you can just arbitrarily drop your client. There'd probably be an issue with that, and it would make you look bad, I would imagine. After this is behind you, what would be the best way to extort you? Based. How do you think you will rebuild bridges after this? I feel like you had a good thing going, but I feel it's impossible to bring you up without being like a sex pest. I feel like you have a lot to contribute to public space, but getting back to mainstream platforms seems impossible. For mainstreamish people, I still don't know if this is like necessarily broken into that orbit. It'll just depend, I guess, on spam emailers and then how much people give a fuck about that. I had a conversation with that one dude from the Bulwark. I think if I get a really positive outcome from this case, that can mitigate some of it, a decent amount of it, a little bit of it in my world, and hopefully a lot of it in any like professional world, but I think the thing that makes me the most upset kind of about all of this from like I mean, like, also keep in mind that I'm saying all this now, but like there is still a world where I get really unlucky and still somehow lose the case. That is possible, right? It could be that the judge looks at all these like, well, you know, they have weak arguments, but fuck it, we'll pass it through. You know, we'll see what happens because there's not much case law on this. And then it ends up going to trial, and then there's like a bunch of jury people, and they're like, well, you know, I feel kind of bad for it. Maybe, you know, like, it's possible, just to be clear. Nothing is 100% when it comes to court stuff. Although, I mean, obviously right now it looks heavily slanted towards me. Wait, why did I bring that up? All that to say, Wait, fuck. What was I responding to? I brought that up as a hedge before I was going to say something. Whatever. Must not have been that important. Oh, what most bothered you? The thing that bothers me the most is that there's a world where if me and all of the other people affected by the leaks were together in a joint suit with my New York law firm, it's an insanely strong case. It's a very strong criminal case. Because when I first contacted the New York law firm, the stuff we were putting together was a packet for the DOJ. The goal is to ship that to the FBI and get them to take the case on and go criminally after the leaker, because that's like a beyond reproach. That's not just a transmission, a Cardi claim or whatever bullshit. This is like an actual case of like revenge porn, extortion, blackmail, like publication to huge platforms like interstate. Like that's like a slam dunk killer case if they take an interest to it. What my law firm in New York told me is it's very, very hard to get the FBI to take an interest in things that aren't literally like fucking serial rape or murder, just because their resources are pretty strained, and online stuff can be hard too. But if it was like me with like 3 or 4 other plaintiffs and all of us are filing that case, like there is a huge criminal case there. There's a guaranteed civil case. That's the easiest win in the world. Like the solo dude, it will be bankrupt for the next 20 years paying off that judgment. Fucking guaranteed, 1,000,000%. And there's a world where Kiwi Farms or Joshua, I think, is held personally liable because I do believe, I would have to go through and like read specifically the statutes and then float this by a law firm, but I do believe that he probably forfeited a lot of his Section 230 protections by being made aware by me that there was revenge porn posted on the site, and then by publicly acknowledging that the porn posted was likely non-consensual in nature, and then by actively participating in my thread and being aware that the leaks were non-consensual in nature, but continuing to provide active hosting for him and everything. Remember, Section 230 protects you as kind of like a neutral hoster of content, not as a content curator or not as a unique publisher or anything like that. So when he starts taking steps to, you know how I say that like for DMCA stuff, the reason why platforms won't like proactively take stuff down before like content ID and everything came out is because, well, if you take down some stuff but not other stuff, well, people are gonna say, oh, excuse me, you're curating content now and some of this is illegal. Now you could be held personally liable. And for him to just account wall the revenge porn, which he did, he just made it available on an account, says something about, I think it speaks to his knowledge of the material. And I think that there is a big liability potentially for Kiwi Farms or Joshua for that too. I think there's a lot of crazy stuff back there. But now, if I go through with that case, it's just gonna be me on my own. And then civilly, the case is probably, I guess, would be weakened. I don't know if you can reference other lawsuits. You must be able to, right? It's probably gonna be weakened to some extent by the leaker or Kiwi Farm saying, oh, well, look, all these other women sued him, like he's just trying to pass the buck or whatever. You get into weird arguments about like foreseeability, proximate harm, like, well, you know, who's at fault, what percentage of liability. Like the civil case, I think, is weakened quite a bit. And the criminal case is not as interesting because now there's a singular injured party who is claiming the other side is solely responsible. And yeah, so everything just got, and the only reason all of this happened is because people are so deranged and hate me so fucking much. And in their brains, I can't possibly be the victim of anything ever. It's always my fault. I'm always an evil, malicious, lying, manipulating, horrible, crazy person. Everything is like planned and plotted because of me. So like, because of that narrative, because they think they stand to gain so much by, you know, taking me out, they basically destroyed any of the harmed party's ability to recoup anything on this. Like at the end of the day, it's basically like it's like ordering pizzas to my house. Like I'm gonna be fine regardless. Even if I have to retire, I'm gonna be fine. But for everybody else that got fucked in this, well, they all get nothing now. They get nothing because I'm not working with any of the witnesses on this case. Obviously, I'm not working with any dough. Obviously, right? So even if I did go after this guy in a civil sense, they don't get anything from it. They don't stand to gain anything from it. And then criminally, there probably will never be repercussions for the guy that did everything. So it's just like completely, yeah, the people involved who are like obsessively deranged haters of mine sunk and destroyed like any chance of any of those people getting any sort of justice or any actual justice being delivered to the guy who did it. So what are you gonna do? Jessica has repeatedly said he will coordinate mass emailing campaigns to any mainstream person you collab with in the future. Eventually must confront the just stalker question. I'll wait till this case is over. I mean, like I said, all of his shit is already out there, so. I think he's spam calling the FBI about me too. They woke me up this morning. We had a wonderful chat. But hey, I have a First Amendment, baby. To be clear, when I say his stuff is out there, I mean that like people have seen all the fucked up, dumb, retarded shit that he said and been involved in. Not that anybody should do anything violent or mean or evil or anything like that. I would never encourage that. We're a peaceful type here, okay? The Taliban, if you open the mouth of a Talibaner, all of the teeth are flat. They're molars because we're vegans. We're plant eaters here. Peaceful types. Like the red pill duders, for example, you go on some Andrew Tate-esque platform, they can just repeatedly throw this in your face, and what can you really say? I mean, well, if I win my case, I can say, well, hey, the legal system worked. It is kind of sad / funny, though, that I think Just Pearly Things had Pixie on her show, and I think she literally told Pixie, you're going to Me Too some guy in the future, I know it. Which is, Jesus. What is your understanding of how plaintiff reconciles doing this because she has a moral obligation to stop you from doing this again? If she did the very same thing, would she say that someone should hold her accountable to and do a civil suit against her? I don't know what's going on in her mind. I don't know how much she believes versus how much is real versus how much she's like, she is legitimately like way more fucking progressive or left-leaning than she was when she was in my world, right? We remember we had the whole Tara Reid argument. There are a couple other funny things too. Who knows if, like, this is kind of pathetic. Did I bring this up yesterday or a few days ago after my court thing? I don't remember if we talked about this or not. This is astounding to me. This is actually so crazy to me. I don't know what is happening here. Like, I don't know if they're legitimately this stupid or if it's all a troll. Did I mention that she said that, oh no, I think it might even been one of their filings, that most of the people that sent her messages saying, oh my God, Destiny sent me videos of you, by the way, just deleted their fucking accounts after she made her Substack. And it's like, was this not an indication to you that it's possible that you're being like epically trolled? Are you actually serious right now? Like, are you really this naive or this stupid but you didn't bring that? Okay, yeah. But do you think people, at least other creators, care about the legal verdict or where the impetus for the legal case comes from? Maybe, yeah, hopefully. Just have to write a good summary judgment. I'm sure this is ending soon, okay? Oh my God. How does Destiny generate this level of blind hatred from people? I think there's just a lot of like really unfortunate things that come together. I've already gone over all this in the past. I have a certain personality type that is, I've said this, if you agree with me, I'm base, but if you disagree with me, I'm very fucking annoying. I think I probably don't set good boundaries with people. I don't map cleanly onto any political camp. So if you're willing to trash me, there's always a huge community reward for it. I used to cover a huge variety of content, and some of it was like the most crazy drama slop content, and that draws like a certain type of audience, a certain style of audience. Very, very open about, or I was very open about almost all aspects of my personal life, so very easy to like mine that for content, for stuff if you want to speculate or gossip or anything, so. I'm sure these guys will be done soon, okay? Were you worried that other creators may come in and help float her case financially just to drag it out? I don't know. I will say, I didn't want to jinx myself in the beginning. I don't know if I said this earlier, but I thought my haters would fundraise more to destroy me. So, fuck my haters. They're claiming the motion to seal granted is not true. Who is they? I don't know why you keep saying that. Unless something was literally filed in the last 5 minutes. That's just a proposed order. I don't know. You're a pretty typical moderate liberal, no? Yeah, but there are like no moderate liberals that are like famous online, except for that are totally disconnected from this world, right? Everybody's either a tanky or they're some kind of like MAGA. Oh my god, Natalie Wynn, joining the neoliberal world order. Did she accomplish her quasi-goal somewhat, though? If I were you, I would be a lot more careful with showing sexual videos to friends. I mean, the problem with that statement is that this is like probably the most red-pilled, I guess, thing, that, like, reality of this is it takes a super misandrist brain, a super like broken human being to see a guy who has had videos of him sucking cock leaked online that are being sent to his family members that everybody in the internet is tweeting and retweeting and attacking him with, and then thinking, wow, this guy is definitely not being punished at all. I, a woman, need to come. I, a white woman, need to come and make sure that he understands he's done something wrong. Like, that is a unbelievably unhinged and unbelievably self-centered take. But that's just my opinion, you know? Oh, and then the, would your approach to discussions be more leaning towards good faith by default? I think generally, yeah. One of the, sorry, okay, last name, and then we'll move on from this. I don't want to do all this every day, sorry. Something that I thought was funny. I have this conversation with so many people in my personal life, and then they always, like, laugh. Because they're like, oh no, like, hold on. It was when Pixie was talking to me about some other dumb shit that was happening. Do you think streaming attracts those types of people, or do you think it's an unintended consequence of most people not being used to poly stuff? And I said, I have no idea. Honestly, I've met lots of crazy people outside of streaming. I just hate everyone. I don't know, LOL. And then she says, I think you've just had way too many bad experiences with people. Do you think it's strange that you're so open despite disliking people? And I said, nah, I just don't really care about other people's opinions. So it's, you know, always fun and interesting to share stuff. She said, you say you don't really care, but it seems like a lot of people have betrayed you and caused you some level of hurt before. You said earlier you've gotten disappointed because people look for other opportunities. What do you mean by that? And I say, my expectations are so low, so it doesn't really hurt that much. I just kind of expect it now, LOL. I mean, when someone feels like they can get big or do something with more opportunity, they'll run off and do that 100%. And she said, I want to give you a hug. I said, it's okay. And she said, no, it's not. You might expect it, but that's still sad. It's not okay to deal with so many people like that. Jesus Christ. I've had this conversation with so many people like, oh no, I would never do that or say anything or do crazy shit publicly. I'm like, it's all good, dude. We're all on timers. Oh, then my favorite meme, I didn't even realize this. I'm sorry, this is my final meme from this. When we did meet up in real life, yes, I'm here in the lobby. Oh, do you want me to come downstairs? Blah, blah, blah. She said, I'm on the way up. The date that we met in real life was in the year 2020 on 9/11. I feel like that's lazy writing. I feel like that's too on the nose. It was September 11th, 2020. Have you ever betrayed someone for personal gain? And if not, then why not? I mean, I feel like I try to be like a little Machiavellian person or whatever. But I guess the way that I always see it in my mind is that if I were to start betraying people, that nobody would trust me in the future on anything. That's like generally my perspective. Not to say that, again, it's so funny because people look at you like making a mistake or fucking up and they're like, oh, like you don't believe any of this. Well, no, it's also possible you're just like fuck up. I'm sure I fucked up before, obviously. But if you just like openly betray or backstab like a ton of people, this is why I like don't shit on most people ever. Except I tend not to hold grudges. It's not even just that like I'm too forgiving, although maybe I am, but it's also, it just looks bad, right? Even we brought up Alina earlier, like, yeah, obviously our breakup was kind of crazy and there was a lot of dumb stuff there, but like, I don't shit on her all the time. In fact, I'm pretty sure if I ever bring up Alina, or if I've ever brought her up in the last like several months, it's usually just been to say something about how she'd streamed or something positive about her or whatever. I'm not just shitting on her. I think it looks bad and I think it hurts other people's trust in it, but I don't know. I guess maybe people don't think about it, or maybe people don't give a fuck. Who knows? Whatever. Do you keep in mind that these experiences might genuinely make you believe no one will ever not treat you like this? Jesus. Like, how do you not start believing and that's just the way things are? As long as I always have my chat, as long as I got my DGGers. That was a hard one. We're good, guys. Are y'all actually going to pursue sanctions? I have no idea. I might ask my attorney at the end. We'll see. Is your motivation not to shit on others entirely self-interested, or is it some virtue you hold? I mean, at the foundation of all of my ethics, there's going to be some self-interested rationalization. I'm sure intuitively, it just doesn't feel good to hold so much hatred in your heart. What is the quote that holding a grudge is like drinking a vial of poison and expecting the other person to die? I don't know, if you walk around like mad at the world and mad at everybody else and resentful and bitter and spiteful, I think it comes out of your life in a lot of different ways. It's not good. And there's like so much other, like, why would I want to be angry and mad and upset all the time at everybody? It's just, I think it's a really bad way to navigate the world. And it also causes you to lose sight of how to navigate future situations better. So I like looking at my relationship with Alina, right? There were cons. But if I were to go back and be like, actually, she was a crazy, horrible, stupid bitch the entire time. I fucking hated her the entire time from the very beginning. People will rewrite relationships sometimes like that. Well, there's two questions. So one is like, well, what the fuck was I doing the whole time? If she was evil for 5 years, why was I just a fucking retard? And then two, how can I possibly avoid getting into that situation again in the future if this person was so clearly and obviously horrible? Like, that's obviously not the case, right? Relationships are complicated. People are complicated. Most relationships are more good than bad, especially if they've lasted for a long time. So, yeah. Have you had any past experience with holding too much hatred that ended you up in a shitty situation? No, not generally, I don't think. I'm just not generally that kind of person. feel like all of this boils down to you being on the Darius side of the Darius-Ayla spectrum of promiscuity. High promiscuity environments tend to breed more drama, and you basically stand to lose more in high volatility environments because of the nature of your work. While that might be true, I don't understand the Darius-Ayla spectrum of promiscuity. Aren't they both on one side, the same side of the spectrum? Aren't they both like highly promiscuous people? What do you think caused her to 180 on you after she was working with you initially? Was she really that mindfucked? My guess, just the difference in how DMs went and the fact that Lauren messaged me on the 11th, I think that Lauren De Laguna probably got to her, and I think Lauren super like dug her claws in. And as soon as she did that, you got to understand there's a whole community of people that are ready to try to take me down at any point in time. Remember, not also, some people accuse me of not talking about this because the facts aren't on my side and I'm scared or whatever. The reason why I don't bring up anything related to Cherry is because she has her own shit going on. If we end up fighting that out in the future, like, we'll fucking fight it out in the future. I'm glad to take that fight. But if she's not, like, there's no reason to, like, poke that a ton. But if you look at the Cherry situation, right? When Cherry had to step back and take a break, what did she say? What did she tweet out? And this is just what we saw on Twitter, that Gisticle told her that she would, and these are public tweets, some private. Gisticle told her he would be her personal Dr. K to help her, like, try to take me down. So as soon as Lauren De Laguna sunk her claws into Pixie, I'm sure there were a ton of other people ready to go behind that. So yeah, so who knows, like, how many people are in that world or whatever, you know? And then combined with who knows how many people from, and, you know, listen, props to the Kiwi farmers, okay? Who knows how many of them were creating fake accounts and, like, messaging Pixie, you know, saying like, oh my God, he sent me your videos too, right? Who knows? Yeah. Genuine question. Do you think there should ever be a limit that can be crossed to invoke a petty grudge? And could it be justified even if it comes off a bit petty? I mean, if a limit has been crossed, then it's not really petty at that point, right? It's justified, no? What has been the most frustrating part about all of this for you? I think the part that drove me insane is the massive amounts of goalpost moving and judgments that got thrown around at the start. It genuinely felt like a critical thinking exercise on whether or not you could avoid virtue signaling for a topic that almost demands it. I think the biggest issue for me, and this will be an issue going forward, and unfortunately it'll be an issue that I have to recommend to people going forward, is I think a lot of what happened in this particular case, I'm talking about it like it's over. It's not really over yet. But a lot of it was really like the worst case, almost meme tier shit that could happen. Like when people are like, when you get in a car accident with somebody, don't get out and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, because you'll get convicted of like being at fault or whatever. I don't believe that's actually true. I don't think that is generally true. Like an utterance like that, I don't think can be used to convict you or cause you to be accountable for behavior. I don't think it's generally true that way. I think in Canada, they even have a name for this. But even in the US, I don't think that's the way it works. But the fact that like there are like two messages that I sent to Pixie, they tried to bring this up in a court environment where I get to address it clearly, frankly, head on. Feels so good and not have random dipshits. One was me saying that oh, like, I'm super sorry, like, you know, there's no excuses, blah blah blah. Like, if you read my message, like, it's very obvious that what I'm talking about is like, this person should have never been like publishing shit online. Because right after I say that, like, I'm so sorry, there's no excuse or whatever. Like, I knew this person pretty well. I didn't think that anything like this would ever happen. It doesn't make sense that I'm saying like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I shared this without your permission, but I thought I could trust it. Like, doesn't make sense, right? The I'm sorry is because like, I'm sorry she got leaked. That genuinely sucks, right? Like that's always, but that's like always going to be the case. Like if somebody, like I've said this before on stream, like if somebody stole my phone or if somebody hacked my computer or hacked my Google Drive, like I would type the same message, like, holy shit, I'm so sorry. Like there's no excuse. Like this is horrible. Like my bad. Like let me, but first, like people like to read that as like, oh, he's admitting here that he did this, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a message that I had between where me and Aaron, where Aaron had typed out like, you obviously shared her stuff non-consensually, or she put that at the end of her message. And people can say whether I'm lying or not, but I don't give a fuck. People can post my messages. I have to, people already do post my messages. I do this shit all the time. But like I'm responding to her message as I'm getting it. We don't ever talk about like the non-consensual claim because one, it's just not worth arguing at that point in time. What am I going to do? Have this argument? But two, the stuff that I'm responding to, oh yeah, here. I guess I responded to this. People like to throw, there's like two messages people like to throw, like, oh, he already admitted to everything. So she's like, which is probably extremely, oh, what do you think would be the appropriate way of even approaching her about that? Oh, because we're talking about like, what can I do to like help her out? Because obviously I feel bad that her shit got leaked. And Aaron is like, it's probably extremely difficult to prove in her case. She's not a high profile micro celebrity and you didn't leak it maliciously. You didn't even leak it at all. You distributed it non-consensually. So generally when I get messages, I just respond to them from like start to finish, right? So her case was extremely difficult to prove and I knew she had no case at all because I'd looked into it. Oh, and I even followed that up with it too here. I was like, yeah, I know. I looked into it for obvious reasons just to be sure, but I really don't care much about the legal side or whatever. And then obviously I've severely, at the very least, psychologically damaged her. Covering therapy or whatever is a minimum. Like there's a set of actions that I took, which was communicating with this gross person. And as a result, a whole bunch of fucking explicit material got leaked. But people like read this as though, again, it would be the same shit if my Google Drive got leaked or whatever else. None of our conversations early on, not with me, not with Aaron, not with Pixie, and that's why none of these conversations exist, and it's why nothing got leaked, and it's why nothing came out immediately after November, were like, oh my God, like I didn't give you permission to share this, why would you do that? Or like, oh my God, like I know I wasn't supposed to. Like there's no messages like that ever. Now you can say that's just because I'm a master Machiavellian manipulator, and then the other side was too emotional to bring that up. But yeah. Is it true that she shared videos of you without written or spoken consent? She just assumed it would be fine. Yes, and that will be in the transcript. Do I want to say more about that or not? I don't know if I've said more about that or not. I don't think I'll say anything more about that. I'll just leave that there, since it's like central to the Cardi claims. But yes, that is correct. That will be in the transcript, yeah. Why do you say you violated her trust in that message, though? Because when somebody does something with you, when somebody records explicit content or has stuff like that with you, they're trusting you to safeguard it, to make sure that like shit doesn't get leaked. And if it does, I mean, like if you're like the safekeeper or the guardian or whatever of that content, then I mean, yeah, you're kind of fucked up. It doesn't matter if, well, I mean, it would obviously sending stuff non-consensually is not good, but like even if somebody like stole it or hacked an account or whatever like that, like you still like kind of fucked up, You changed your OPSEC? Yeah, I wiped my fucking DMs with basically every single person on all my platforms, like as of a year ago or whatever, or as of like January 1st or whatever. Now what? Now we just stream and we chill. We take deep breaths and we wait for all of our oh my God. Uh-oh. Are there small signs of her behavior, of her eventual behavior that you'd be able to recognize in hindsight? I don't know if it's possible to know all of that. I think there are just certain safeguards. I think like things, it sounds cringe and I don't want to sound like a fucking hotshot or whatever. Like I think like NDAs are probably important, and then I understand why like celebs only mess with other celebs. Is because you want to always be messing with people. When I say mess with, I don't even mean necessarily sexually, but you always want to have connections with people who have something to lose. You don't ever want to be in a fight with somebody or ever juxtaposed with somebody who has nothing to lose, because then it's like it's no holds barred and they can say and do whatever the fuck they want with no reputational risk because they have none anyway, and that's like the worst. It's always the worst world to be in. Why did you never respond to Loanerbox's underhanded tactics? You let him get away scot-free with all the stuff he did to you? I don't think Loanerbox did much. I think Loanerbox's statements were probably the most fair-ish out of everybody. Like, he didn't say too much, but he's also in an uncomfortable spot because he's, I mean, he was, they were dating and all that bullshit, so, but whatever. Are there any other adult friends in your life? To me, most of the friends involved, they're public. Oh, no. I have like a set of like real life normie friends now that you will never know about, that no one will ever know about. I take a bunch of psychedelic mushrooms, I sit in my living room, and then I chat with the voices in my head for, let me get a Red Bull, hold on. They keep saying you're saying XYZ to control your audience / control the narrative. Makes me feel really retarded. Yeah, but again, I'm just trying to read through things. I need to keep applying the projection lens because I'm trying to figure out like why do people say things they do. And I realize for Kiwi Farms, their obsession is that they have a perspective on a person and they want to have that perspective. That has to be the true perspective, and there can be no other ones. So whenever somebody contradicts it, they immediately project what they do. Oh my God, they're trying to control the narrative, blah, blah, blah. Like that's always the go-to. And somehow that's supposed to be an argument. But the reality is because they want to be the ones to write the story about everything. Oh, and then I also figured that out too. I checked yesterday because I was curious. I was like, when is the last cosplay thing that Kelly Jean posted or whatever? And I think it's like years ago, because I don't know where this new thing came from where, and their server, for some reason, they just like obsessively call me fat. And I have no idea where this came from or why. Like, I think Kelly's name in Jessica's Discord server is like, Destiny is fat. And I'm like, I've weighed like 150 to 155 for the past like 2 years. But it's probably because she's gotten fat. And that's why like she hasn't done any like cosplay shit. I don't even know if she cams up anymore. It's because she's probably gained a lot of weight because of all of her fake medical conditions. So it makes sense. Oh, I was super open about the hair stuff. I have an autoimmune condition called alopecia areata, which I didn't know anything about until I researched it because the doctor guy I went to didn't say fuck all about it. But as my hair is, it's mostly regrown. I'm still waiting for a few more to come in. But like people are like, I think he's coloring his hair in now. Or I think he's trying to fill it in, or he's using a marker or something. It's like, why would I say anything at all then in the first place? I would have just like, okay, dude. Whatever. Anyway, okay. We already watched this yesterday.
Children.
Legal Mindset said you're cooked. Has he done a recent commentary, or was that just when he first covered it? Because I know that he went over this when the stuff first dropped, but this was back when everybody was saying I didn't have a legal team at all, and I was going to represent myself pro se, and I was going to get, like, I don't know. And now it's switched to my legal team is too good.
Produced.
So whatever. The Kelly Jean is old memes real? Like, is she 40 plus? I think she's 38. I have to go back and check or something, but I don't remember. Okay, wait, real fast. I want to do the, okay. There was an article that we read yesterday of there being trouble in Trump Town. Oh, they're trolling me upstairs, okay. But now apparently it's finally gone public. You got to see Hassan's insane drip on stream right now. Does anybody have a link to the public, to the press conference this morning?
Should we do that on camera? Absolutely. Sure.
So to let you know, this is the birth certificate of Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869.
Actually, let's do a lead up to this real quick.
There's finally a rift happening in the truest love in American history. That between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Look at this love, dude. Just a few months ago, these two were about to kiss. And as of today, the bromance might be doomed. America's sweetheart couple might be finally breaking it off. Remember back in February? I love real Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. Direct quote from Elon Musk. They were hugging. They were at rallies together. They were having a great time. They were gonna take on the world, okay? Donald Trump was gonna get the economy moving again, and Elon Musk was gonna cut spending so that America could afford it. The combination of the tariff revenue and the tax cuts and the Doge cuts, we're gonna get America back on fiscal track. And then just 4 months into Doge, Elon Musk was basically shown the door. Thank you, but time to go. He was basically sent packing. Now, part of this could have been his own decision, as his own companies were dealing with more and more struggle. Part of this could be disagreements internally. Again, it's worth noting he showed up to this final meeting with a black eye and bruising on his face. He says it's
Now, have you ever been punched by a 5-year-old before?
his kid punched him in the face, but there's reports from Steve Bannon that Elon Musk got in a physical altercation with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Oh.
Now, you also have to be careful with what Bannon says, because I believe that Bannon doesn't get along with the current Trump camp, right? He's kind of an outsider now, right? Ever since he got cast out in 2018, 19? Was it after Roy Moore? I believe Roy Moore, correct me if I'm wrong, I wasn't Vyvanced up yet. Roy Moore was a big candidate that I think Bannon pushed onto Trump, and then Trump pushed on the Republicans that ended up getting fucked. And I think afterwards, because of a lot of like electoral issues, I think Bannon slowly kind of got pushed away from the Trump camp. So he's kind of an outsider at the moment. He still likes Trump. He might like Trump, but he might attack people around him. Remember, that would be your political incentive, is to get back in. You only attack people around Trump, maybe more than you would otherwise, but you don't attack Trump himself.
Over the Treasury, over the spending. I mean, there's some real theory here that something's going on. It's black eye and bruising. So anyway, they gave him a golden key and said, come back anytime. But Elon Musk walked away wearing his Doge father outfit. And that was that. And Elon Musk was separating from the government back to his own job. But it didn't take long after being shown the door that he started.
How did Miller remain in the Trump camp? Miller is one of the most loyal. What would it be? The Garble or whatever? Who was the propaganda minister? It wasn't Himmler. It was Garble. Goebbels. Miller is the Goebbels to Trump's Hitler, 100%.
Commenting on the government, specifically on the big, beautiful bill that Trump has been laser focused on pushing, as much as focused as Trump can be. Trump has been pushing to get this massive tax cut and spending cut bill, the big, beautiful bill, through the House and through Congress. And finally, Elon Musk, after hinting at it for a little while and voicing some slight discomfort, finally today, out and out said it. He called the bill, I just want to be clear, I want to get the words right. He called the bill a disgusting abomination. Specifically, I'm sorry, but I can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. And
That's a big attack against Donald Trump. Because remember, this is like Donald Trump's crowning achievement. What did we get from Biden in the first 100 days? We were promised, I think we were promised 100 million shots, 100 million vaccinations by day 100, and we got it by day 50. Was the American Rescue Plan? There's no way that was in the first 100 days, was it? When was the American Rescue Plan? When did that launch? March 11th, 2021. Holy shit. It was within the first 100 days, wasn't it? Damn. That was a big stimulus. We got that was a $1.9 trillion bill. $1 trillion bill. Oh, and that was with the majority, remember, that we got in the Senate with two blue Georgia Senate seats. 2 of them. God damn. I think there was more than I remember hearing this when we were canvassing. There was more than $1 billion, I think, spent advertising on ads in Georgia for those 2 Senate elections. It was insane. It was insane. Oh, so in the first 100 days, I said that he did 100 million in 50 days instead of 100 days. By day 100, they might have gotten the 200 million vaccines. Holy shit. Oh, the pullout of Afghanistan was within the first 100 days as well. And we stopped with the Yemen civil war stuff as well. This was good. Oh no, these were the pledges. Sorry. Okay. The pullout wasn't quite that soon. And the U.S. involvement in the Yemeni civil war. The United States remains in support of Saudi Arabian backing in the Yemeni civil war, although involvement is reduced somewhat. I thought we completely stopped the participating in the drone attacks and everything with Biden under that. I wonder what this means. Does this just mean that we like quote unquote support them like in morale? Because I thought that we ended the drone support that we had, unless they're counting us like bombing them in exchange for the bombing of ships coming through. I'm pretty sure that we. It says end, yeah, but this says unfulfilled. Jesus. But anyway, yeah, Biden's first 100 days were pretty good.
I responded somewhere with a handshake emoji because I agree. You know, Elon Musk, it took you a long time to say anything. This is the bill you were supporting 1 week ago, but he did finally say it. This bill is horrendous. This bill massively blows out our already massively blown out deficit. It leaves us, anyone young and anyone in the future.
Remember, you have different Trump camps. You've got different supporters. And one of the reasons why Trump was able to win this election so dominatingly, or in such a dominating fashion, was because there were these new constituencies of like Trump voters that never existed before. One of the big ones being all of these San Fran, Silicon Valley types and your tech bros, your Tom Bilyeu's, right? The people that I want to talk to. And the one saving grace for all of these people, the one saving grace for all these people for Trump was that he was going to reduce the deficit.
Massively blows out our already massively blown out deficit. It leaves us, anyone young and anyone in the future, with even more problems and even less money to go around for the government. We're gonna have more and more interest payments to pay for tax cuts for rich people right now. It's a horrendous bill. You know, Elon Musk has done a lot of damage providing cloud cover for the bill and supporting the bill. But now that he's out, I guess he's willing to say it, which I respect because as someone who was pissed off.
Sorry, I just realized why I brought all that up. All that to say that Trump didn't really have any major legislative achievements in his first term, except for the tax bill. And now this is like his next big legislative achievement that he's trying to go for, two big major pieces of legislation, I guess, for 2 different presidential terms. And so Elon coming out and shitting on his big, beautiful bill that he's nicknamed, that's a pretty direct attack on Donald Trump.
Cover for the bill and supporting the bill. But now that he's out, I guess he's willing to say it, which I respect because as someone who has pissed off like all of the left side of America, he is now risking pissing off all the right side of America and being left with, I guess I respect the ability to say it.
Why do people care so much about the deficit? Because Republicans tell them to care about it.
For this particularly, especially because Trump has been so supportive of it, it is a pretty big line to draw from Elon's side. Now, he'll say, and I think everyone that has criticized this bill will say, that even though Trump is nonstop supporting it, that it's not Trump's fault. Trump doesn't know the bad stuff in the bill.
Do you think there's a window for Democrats to get Elon on our side again now that he's fracturing with Trump? That's a hard one to say. The problem is that I don't like to make this accusation because it's kind of a personal attack, and I can't really truly know for sure. But I do start to wonder, and I think it's fair to wonder, if Elon has some kind of drug problem that is affecting his behavior. I kind of wonder the same about Jordan Peterson. Yeah, it's just hard to say. Listen to him talk about the rocket stuff and everything before. He actually, I don't know why that never got linked to me when I was asking, is there any videos of Elon speaking intelligently? When he was talking outside that launch site to that one dude, he was way more coherent there than any of the wacky, wild, and crazy shit that he's been on recently. The only problem with bringing him back to our side is that a person who, there's some quote here, and I don't remember the quote, but it's like somebody that can be whatever so easily is also somebody who can be whatever so easily, right? Like if you can make a friend as easily, or if they switch sides one way incredibly quickly, they could switch sides the other way. There's some profound quote there, somebody have it, but...
Everyone will say that Trump doesn't know what he's doing, but we have to stop it. And in fact, it's the evil rhinos in Congress that are writing it, and they want to let him off the hook. But and he continued. So Elon Musk continued. It was like, Congress is making America bankrupt, and it will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit at 2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with a crushingly unsustainable debt. And I'm sorry.
Am I misremembering this, or didn't the GOP say a Biden bill was too long and they wouldn't vote for it unless they made it less pages? Possibly, but remember, the Republicans have no principles and no values. They will say anything. They will say anything to win. Even and they'll say things that sound good. When you're talking to Republican lawmakers, you just have to view them as what was her name? Was it Jane? It wasn't Jane, was it?
And she's all like,
okay, if you would just...
This is what Republicans are like when you're talking to them ever.
Dad, no! No, stop it! Dad, stop!
Jesse! Back off!
Jesse, no!
Back off!
Dad, okay, everybody just calm down!
What's with you, yo, huh? Because I'll seriously bust you up. You miserable little smackhead. Get the hell out. Hey, I pay my rent, bitch. All right, I got civil rights.
Dad, no! Okay, Jesse!
You're going back to rehab today, now.
Look, as it so happens, we were
just about to reduce the deficit, and we were talking about cutting spending right now.
Yeah, and I was going to tell you.
Yeah, we've got the biggest, tax cut. But
You have been clean for 18 months, Jane. Why?
all you do is increase the deficit over and over again, and you've never done anything to control spending.
I backslid, okay?
Okay, well, there was a war, there were terrorist attacks. What do you want us to do? Jesus, all
Like
right?
what?
And then meanwhile, this is like the Democrats watching Republicans talking to the American voters. Like, what? How many trillions in Iraq and Afghanistan? Largest budget deficit ever under Trump? Wait, are they believing this? Are they believing this? And she's like, we're just trying to save money with the American people, and we're going to go back to the gold standard. And
Like I do it on purpose.
like it's hard. The Democrats make us do it sometimes too. And
Lying to me. Shacking up and using with this scumbag, this loser.
Hey, it takes
you're doing but you're still spending so much money, aren't you? Like, what's going on, guys? You said you were going to cut the debt, and it didn't happen, right?
one.
See, Dad, and you don't know the first thing about him. We rehab every...
You don't understand. And this is Stephen Miller being like, no, you don't understand. Actually, the new big, beautiful bill is actually deficit neutral. It's actually going to reduce spending. The CBO is lying.
idea.
Okay?
You talk about rehab? Well, gee, isn't that wonderful?
I thought you were going to cut the debt and the deficit. Why has it never happened?
Thank you for not being judgmental 24 hours a day.
We're just doing our best, okay? It's tough times, guys. Remember COVID? Trump had COVID, all right?
Because that's exactly what I need, to be judged all the time.
Okay. You know what you need?
Fine. We'll elect you a second term, okay? We're sorry about the 34 felony convictions.
Tell you exactly what you need.
But like this is legitimately it. It's just like, it's fucking unhinged. It's so stupid, but whatever.
Sorry, this is just true. As I've mentioned, I read a lot of Substacks from, and at least probably over half of them are from like Wall Street finance Republicans. Or like not even Wall Street, but like people who are like investors, or they know this shit. They're in and out this shit, and they were like supportive of some kind of changing agenda. They at least had some ideological, not ideological reason for giving Trump a chance. All of them, almost all of them have slowly but surely been like, had to admit all these economic decisions are terrible. Like, all of them. Dude, it's so funny. Like one by one, they've all written some sort of op-ed being like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't add up. And this bill has been a real unifier for at least that crowd of like, no, there's just like one guy specifically stuck out to me where he basically said, I thought they would be able to get a handle on the spending. It turns out they're going to go full.
Also, let me just please, okay, as the only person on the internet that cares about how anything works, okay? I'm sorry. Just... Who is Thomas Massey? Actually, I don't even care what party he is, and I'm going to criticize this no matter what. Is this a Republican, or is this... I said I would start looking everybody up. Thomas Massey, Ballotpedia, is a Republican... Okay. Member of the U.S. House of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District. Okay. The House has a 72-hour rule which requires the bill to be posted 72 hours before passage, but the Speaker circumvented this rule with a manager's amendment that rewrote and added substantial portions of the bill as it went through the Rules Committee the night the bill was passed. There's another House rule which requires a day to pass before voting on a bill after the Rules Committee has modified it. Would you believe the House voted to suspend that so-called same-day rule? This means the final language of the bill was released only a few minutes before debate began. The vote on that rule changed, and the vote on the bill followed within a couple of hours. Actually, never mind. Hold on. I won't criticize this guy. Actually... Oh, this guy's actually talking about the lawmaking process. Interesting. 99% of the time, a lawmaker tells you this bill just came out, we didn't have time to read it. That is a fucking lie. All of these people have an office full of staffers, and their job is to always be reading this legislation. No lawmaker in Congress reads the bills they pass. They don't have the time to, and we don't need them to. They have staff that go through and pick apart all of the legislation to make sure that it does what the elected representative wants it to do, and to make sure that it comports to the elected representative's values. And it's the staffers' jobs to deliver that information to the lawmaker and to tell them, hey, this is what the bill does roughly, so that you have an idea of what's going on. And, we think that this is something you would obviously support. And here are some parts that you might have an issue with, and you can make that decision. That's how all of these things work. Any bill that comes out of Congress has gone through rules committees. None of the lines are new. Like, this has been talked about and debated and hashed out and gone over a million times between different offices. But if it is the case that significant portions of the bill were rewritten and then House rules were overridden to shove these things through committees overnight, and then another rule was overwritten to vote fast, it is possible that stuff got in there that people hadn't read in time. That could be possible. But generally, that would be an exceptional thing, just as a heads up. When people, 99% of the time, when people in Congress are like, oh, we haven't had a chance to read the bill, they don't read bills ever. They don't do that. Their staffers have read it. This is literally what they get paid to do. But, okay. Also, if you didn't have time to read it, then why'd you fucking vote for it if that's going to be a problem? What is this? I don't know. Okay.
Full steam ahead until they hit the wall, until nobody in the world will buy American debt anymore. They're gonna fucking spin off the rails, and that's what it's looking like. So Elon Musk is calling this out. Worth mentioning, James Chanos, one of those guys. I don't know if he's Republican, but he's a longtime finance guy, well-read thinker. Pointed out this is the same bill when he was praising it last week. Very worth noting that Elon Musk has only started talking about this after he was kicked out. And by the way, they're forcing this through with 0 Democratic votes, is my understanding. So they need most Republicans, almost every Republican, to vote for it. And there's a few holdouts.
Why bother having elected representatives then? Why not just have highly educated technocrats and academics in power? Wouldn't that be a better system? Well, because the representatives are there to pass legislation that you vote for them to pass. The staffers are just there to do the interpretation for them, right?
One of them is Rand Paul, who is like the most vocal and fiscally conservative against this from the beginning, well before Elon spoke out.
Senator, what do you need to see in this bill to be on board?
The problem is it's asking conservatives like myself to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. That's historic. No one's ever raised the debt ceiling that much. It will be a record for Congress to raise the debt $5 trillion. But also it indicates that this year the deficit will be over $2 trillion, but it means they're anticipating close to $3 trillion for the next year. It's really a slap in the face at those of us who are excited about Elon Musk and Doge and all the cuts. Where are the cuts? If the cuts are real, why are we going to borrow $5 trillion? So what I proposed was this. I put forward a proposal and we voted on it to raise the debt ceiling for 3 months. If the promises are real, I'll vote to raise it every 3 months. So I put forward that amendment. Unfortunately, I only got a handful of votes, but I think that's the way to do it. If you raise it $5 trillion for 2 years, you just put it on the back burner, but we're going to coast through that money and we're going to spend it all. And that's not what the people want. That's not what our supporters want.
All right.
Yeah, so I don't like the 3-month debt ceiling bill.
I haven't kept up with this as much, obviously, because I've been out of town for 2 weeks. I thought they were asking for a $4 trillion raise. Is it $5 trillion now? What the fuck?
Going to be insane chaos that gets nothing done for in our already stymied system. But I do agree that a $5 trillion raise.
They called Destiny a pedo on Matt and Shane's secret podcast. Based. The dumbest thing, the most self-defeating thing about like the pedophile thing, like if you bang like 18 or 19-year-olds or whatever, is it like whatever you make the age of consent, people are just always going to say you're a pedo or whatever if you bang somebody like a year or two over it. So like let's say we say, oh, 18 is too young. Well, why do you think that? It's because that's what we've said the age of consent. Okay, let's make it 21. But if you made it 21, well, if you were fucking 21-year-olds, there would be no more 21-year-olds. There would be 22-year-olds, and then there would be freshly turned 21-year-olds. And you're like, wow, you're fucking 21-year-olds. It's fucking disgusting. 21, 22. Like, are you, like, it's fine. Who the fuck cares?
Senator Rand Paul joins
apparently this is a cut from that Rand Paul interview.
Now, and sir, it's good to see you again. You've been very popular these last couple of days. I want to start with the fact that you now have Elon Musk on your side, which was...
So when Marjorie Taylor Greene says she didn't know about the no regulation on AI for 10 years, if she had, she wouldn't have voted for OBBB. Is that an example of something being shoveled in last minute? I doubt it. That's probably something that all of her staffers knew about beforehand and that she was communicated with beforehand, but they thought it would pass anyway or whatever. That'd be my guess.
It was a really big tweet today. I think applies a lot of the pressure that you're trying to apply. He calls the bill an abomination. What specifically has you so turned off about this bill specifically? This morning you essentially said you want to cut 6% from basically every part of the budget, but what is it about this bill that you don't like so much?
Well, let's start with what I like about the bill. What I like about the bill, the tax cuts. I voted for them in 2017. I wish they were permanent, and that's a big part of the bill. But if that's all that the bill was, I'm not a yes, a hell yes. I'm all in.
This, for whatever Rand Paul, I think he tries to call himself a libertarian or whatever, being in favor of increasing taxes for the sake of increasing taxes is just as stupid as being in favor of reducing taxes for the sake of reducing taxes. You don't want to reduce taxes. You want to destroy the government. You shouldn't allow people to say things like this. Rand Paul, when you say that you're happy that this reduces taxes, don't you really mean that you just want this to lead to the destruction of the federal government? Why would you want to reduce taxes when we don't have enough money to pay any of our fucking bills? Doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
And for that, I'm for spending cuts. I don't think there are enough spending cuts in that, and I'm worried about that. I wish there were more.
What is this? Like, I wonder, like, this guy doesn't have any big business or anything, right? He's not even like personally I wish that these people were bribed and shit as much as you fucking retards think they are. Because at least then they would have a good reason for the stupid shit that they do and believe in. Like, if I were to find out, like, oh, Rand Paul, he's worth $150 million. Oh, okay, I get it. But he's not. Like, he's not even making money off of it. He's actually just like stupid all on his own. Jesus.
But I still would support the tax cuts and some spending cuts if they weren't forcing conservatives to vote to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. That concerns me because when you extend the debt ceiling, this will be the largest increase in the debt ceiling ever. This will be the first time that Republicans alone will be responsible for the debt. The debt will be basically owned by Republicans, and I'm not for borrowing $5 trillion over the next 2 years. I've told the president if they will separate the debt ceiling vote out, they very may well have my vote on this. But so far, the negotiations are slow. They seem to be picking up a little bit in the last couple of days, so I'm still hopeful that we can come to an agreement.
I mean, fiscally, I watched you on.
Actually, yeah, that's true. Somebody said his job is to represent Kentuckians. Sure. And those people are even more poor, but yeah. Is Rand Paul really from Kentucky? Rand Paul, Ballotopedia. From the U.S. Senate from Kentucky, he is. Isn't Ron Paul is from Texas, right? Or is he from Kentucky? Why do I feel like Ron Paul's from Texas? Oh, he is. Okay. Rand Paul from Kentucky. Okay. Every time we say, I'm going to start doing this. I told you before for like geography, you want to learn geography, anytime you hear the name of a country or a city or anything in history, you should just look up where it is on a map. A map is so important and nice because it makes you understand. It just makes you understand some things because everything that happens in our physical universe is causal. Things are caused by other things. And that also extends to things like history or conflict or war or whatever else, you know? And geography can play a role in things. Like if I were to tell you like, you know, who has Israel historically fought with the most? Like, let's say that you didn't actually know the answer to that at all, but you knew your geography at least, right? You'd be like, well, who's right next to them? Egypt, and then there's Jordan, and then there's Syria, and then there's Lebanon. I guess maybe those 4 countries, and you'd be basically right. Not really Lebanon, but the other 3, yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I guess kind of Lebanon, yeah. No, yeah, Lebanon, yeah. And then conversely, if somebody were to ask you, you know, do you know where Syria is? And it's like, fuck, not really. But they fought a lot with Israel, so they're probably bordered with Israel. So they're probably somewhere over there, you know? But same thing, I'm going to try doing this with, I think IRI can name, can't I'm Really Important name every single senator and representative, and he knows like the districts they come from and everything. So anytime I bring these people up, I should just look them up here just so I start to get into my brain more. And you should do that too, I think.
CNBC this morning, you didn't say one thing that I didn't think was very sympathetic. I thought you made a lot of great points.
That logic doesn't work for the U.S. though. Listen, I think we will read it again tonight, okay? There's more history stuff I want to study. One question that I really want to know the answer to, I always hear so much about Vietnam, and it was so horrible. And maybe it was, but I feel like we never, ever, ever talk about Korea. Did anybody ever talk about Korea? Like the Korean War was in the 50s. And I feel like that was probably a good thing. No, South Korea is like one of the most successful, crazy, like amazing countries on the planet. Like, is there a world where we win Vietnam and now you have like a South Vietnam that's like South Korea? I don't know. I'm not sure what happened or what the difference was there or whatever, but who knows? Well, somebody knows, man.
points. I know you're getting hammered by the president for this, but I don't inherently think that you're wrong about what you're concerned about. I don't think you're wrong about the size of the government and how much we spend. I also think that I watched Bessent on Face the Nation on Sunday, and I thought he was very pragmatic as well. That he just basically said, listen, all spending in Washington got shot through the roof. We didn't get here overnight. They're trying to cut it down in a very practical.
The Korean War was way shorter. That is true. I don't know a lot of history around American wars and shit. I was surprised because when I was on that trip in DC, the Vietnam War, bro, we were there for like fucking, it was like 16 years. Holy shit. I think U.S. involvement was like 16 years or maybe a little longer. That's wild. What the fuck, bruh? Wait.
Bruh.
The Korean War was super unpopular at the time as well. Was it? I think the Torah person we had for the monuments for Korea, when he came back, or he said that when people came back, people just didn't talk about it at all. That it was like the silent generation, the forgotten war. People just don't ever talk about it. I don't know why, but the Korean War was 3 years only and 75 years ago with minimal impact on the U.S. and nobody cares. Yeah, but I feel like it was a really good thing, right? Like South Korea's fucking amazing, right? I don't know. Damn. Korea had UN involvement as well, no? No clue, actually. I don't know. I'm not sure. How close South Korea came to losing the war. We'll look at that later, okay? Stop! Don't sidetrack me.
We didn't get here overnight. They're trying to cut it down in a very pragmatic and stable way. And it sounds like you want to just take a machete to the size of government and the spending of government. I can appreciate that, but does the Treasury Secretary have a point?
Well, you're right. Well, you're right. I do want to take a machete to it, but I'm willing to take less big or a big scalpel, if that could be the metaphor. The thing is that the bill doesn't have to have everything in it that I want, but I do want to cut spending. The reason that I can't vote for it is the debt ceiling on there. So if you take the debt ceiling off, you say, are you for the tax cuts? Yes. Are you for spending cuts? Will you vote for it if you don't get everything you want on the spending cuts? Yes. So the thing is, it isn't that I'm objecting to too little spending cuts or to the tax cuts or to the CBO. What I'm objecting to is I do not want to be responsible, and I don't want there to be no conservative opposition to the debt. Raising the debt ceiling $5 trillion implies and almost always means we're going to borrow $5 trillion that we don't have in the next 2 years. I'm not for that. That's just not conservative.
I completely understand that. Is there any way to do this, though, without raising the debt ceiling? As it is?
No, the debt ceiling has to go up. The debt ceiling has to go up. So I offered an amendment 2 weeks ago to let the debt ceiling go up $500 billion. That sounds like a lot of money, but that's about...
Damn, that's a significantly lower amount. That got 0 Republican... I don't know. Maybe it got a lot of Republican votes. That's a... They were asking for what, 5 trillion? You're like, how about 500 billion? That's on the scale of Doge's success, right? You guys want 5 trillion? I'll give you 500 billion. Doge was supposed to give us back 2 trillion, and they gave us like 50 billion. So, you know, what's fair is fair.
About 3 months worth of borrowing because it's literally out of control. Our interest payment is $1 trillion. We borrow over $4 million every minute. We borrow $6 billion a day. So something has to be done. And so I would offer to raise it $500 billion. Everybody says that only lasts us 3 months. Precisely. Come back to me in 3 months. Show me what you've done to the taxpayer. Show me what you've done to the debt. Show me how you're cutting spending, and maybe I'll give you a little more in allowance. I think the debt ceiling should be...
Is this guy like a hard right or more moderate right? You have to be careful when you talk about hard right and moderate right, because over the past few years in the American political system, and maybe even in the whole Western world, the standard single dimensional axis doesn't really work anymore. You kind of have to move to the 2-dimensional one where you're on the, I don't like to call it libertarian authoritarian thing and then liberal conservative. But at the very least, like the MAGA party is not really a far-right party as far as recent American history is concerned. Far-right, as far as recent American history is concerned, is infatuated with things like racism or things like, I guess, like just like tax cuts and big business and being very hawkish militarily. These are the things that historically, like your Bush era, your neocons are in favor of. But your new kind of like Trump movement is not really as concerned with racism as they are with like nationalism and xenophobia. So whereas a traditional Republican would look at a black man and go, African-American, hoodlum, slum, get this guy out of here and bring in a good Chinese student or a good Indian worker. The new Trump movement is like, African Americans, these are our American brothers. We love these guys because we have Kanye West. God bless him. And get these fucking Indians and Chinese out of here, right? It's a more xenophobic, nationalistic bend rather than just a racist one. Not to say that there aren't racist elements in the Trump party. Or when it comes to things like big business, right? Neocons love big business, which is why they let a lot of the immigration stuff slide. So where you got like amnesty from Reagan and I think even maybe a little from Bush came from. And current conservatives are like, fuck big business. We hate big business. We hate big business more than the left hates big business. In fact, they're the ones that like big pharma and big everything else. We hate all of that. So when you look at somebody like Rand Paul, I'm just saying that just to caution you away. Like Trump is not a far right person in terms of American political rightness, especially when you look at, because hawkishness also kind of characterized the quote unquote far right or the right wing in the United States now. And now they want to be totally isolationist. And all their trade policies are protectionist. And right wingers before would have been like free markets and open markets. So Rand Paul considers himself kind of a libertarian, meaning that he just votes no on everything that doesn't have a tax increase, and he has no political power basically at all. But as the margins are closing in Congress, people like him are a little bit more important because Republicans are trying to pass stuff with 0 Democratic votes. So every vote is kind of important. Yeah.
It'd be like giving a teenager their allowance. And frankly, Congress is less reliable than most teenagers and more profligate in their spending ways than most teenagers. So they should have a very short leash. The president wants the opposite. He doesn't want to think about the debt ceiling. He wants to be done with it. Don't bother me with it. It's making me mad. It's gonna bother me, and I don't want to mess with it for 2 years. I would mess with it every day. I would mess with it at the minimum 3 months, 6 months, because it is the leverage that you can use to say, have you done your job? You promised me, not the president. I'm talking about congressional leadership here.
Any thoughts on 80% of sex-selective IVF choices being girls? Heterosexual couples are having a stated preference of girls over boys, and heterosexual couples being more likely to have less children if their first child is a girl. Is that true? If so, based. That's more for us, right? That's good for the incels, right? That's a pretty crazy stat if that's true, though.
Has congressional leadership kept their promise to cut spending? If so, I'll let you borrow a little bit more money. How about 3 more months? But they have not deserved our trust. They are not typically honest about the decisions up here, and so they do not deserve $5 trillion worth of borrowing.
You're in the minority here, though, right, among Republicans. Most of them are ready to vote for the big, beautiful bill as it stands. So how do you hold a line here? How do you win, I guess, is the question.
All it takes is 4 people. Ron Johnson has been pretty loud on TV.
I was going to look up, like, what are the margins, right? So they need to get 4 people to flip. Rand needs 3 friends in Congress, and then it's, those are small margins. Really? Destiny, please look into the America First Committee. You aren't correct about the history of the American far right. This was a committee from the 1940s, my friend. Politics in the world changes pretty frequently. That's why I said like up through like Bush and maybe going as far back as Reagan. But even Reagan era stuff is different, and now we're quite different from Bush era. Anybody trying to make political comparisons between parties or politicians from like 100 years ago or 80 or 50 plus years ago, the world changes way too fast. Those comparisons don't mean much unless you're just engaging in it like curiously. It's not as loud for us as it is for you. Oh.
There's a couple more that I think may be coming forward. As they come forward, if 4 of us say we don't want the debt ceiling on it, they'll take it off in a heartbeat. All it takes is 4 of us, and the debt ceiling's gone. All it takes is 4 of us to say we want spending cuts. Ron Johnson's been talking about spending pre-pandemic. That would virtually balance the budget. I don't know if we can get there, but I'm all for it, and I'll stick with them as long as we can. If there's 4 of us, we make it smaller. Why would anybody in the country not be rooting for us to make this make the debt less onerous, make the spending less? This is what conservatives have always been for. Doesn't mean we're against the president. I'm trying to help the president. He says he wants to balance the budget. I'm trying to help the president.
Yeah. I'm not against what you're trying to do at all. I don't think anybody watching the show is going to listen to you as you've talked about this for the last couple of days and disagree with you one iota. I can't imagine that they would. I don't know how that they would. I want to change and get you one question really quick on Ukraine before I let you go, Senator. Lindsey Graham and Dick Blumenthal go to Ukraine over the weekend, and then early this week we find Ukraine dramatically escalates the war, and they did a very impressive job dealing a heavy blow inside of Russia. Graham and Blumenthal want heavy sanctions on Russia. What do you think about what has just happened here in the last 48 hours with this war?
I think it's easy to be sympathetic to Ukraine. They've been aggressed against. Their country was invaded. So it's easy, and I am sympathetic to Ukraine. I also am, sympathetic to the carnage and would like the carnage to end. I don't think ultimately Ukraine can push Russia out of their country. Russia's had Crimea since 2014. They've had the Donbass for a couple years now. So I think it's going to be very difficult. But I do want to have peace happen. I would say this on the Graham bill to have more sanctions. It's not really a sanction bill. It's a worldwide tariff bill on anybody who buys oil from Russia or anybody who buys oil from somebody who bought it from Russia. It's a 500% tariff. What would happen if Lindsey Graham bills were to pass? would be a worldwide catastrophic depression with all trade ending. It would be a worldwide embargo on trade. It is the most, I don't want to overstate my point. It will be the most ill-conceived bill ever passed.
Also, as a real quick, if you're friends with me on Discord or if somebody can find it in chat, please don't just Google and link the first thing like I'm a retard. Okay, so only if you actually know what you're talking about. Okay, if somebody can give me like a way to do a stock ticker on OBS, so some kind of transparent window or some kind of chroma keyed window that just has like the Tesla stock, I'll add it, okay? But don't just like, oh, I Googled this and link me a random fucking GitHub or whatever.
Passed in the history of Congress. It's a terrible bill. We can't put 500% tariffs on India. The president is talking about having reciprocal lowering of tariffs with India, and I support that. But I don't support a crazy sledgehammer of 500% tariff that can be doubled every 90 days on anybody who buys oil from Russia. Ultimately, if you want peace, you actually do want people to trade with Russia. The moment you get no trade with Russia, perhaps you have a desperate Russia.
Okay, I don't know if we need any more from this.
That expands the war. Same with China. When you have no trade with China, that's when we're going to have the worst things happen. So I think still having trade with adversary nations is a good idea.
Senator Paul, thank you so much. We do.
Okay. That was the full cut from that, but
chaos that gets nothing done for our already stymied system. But I do agree that a $5 trillion raise, the most massive raise we've ever had, to support primarily wealthy tax cuts is insane. It's just insane. It's just not what we need to be doing when we are already spending such a huge chunk of every dollar we raise on interest on our previous debt. He spoke out against it, and then also Ron.
Are there any rich people, even the fucking dick sucks in the tech world? I'm talking about like Chamath and stuff, or Chamath or whatever the fuck. Are any of these guys saying, I'm just trying to think. Somebody link me this. They must be. And I don't mean this like, is anybody even saying this? Ha, it can't be happening. I'm legitimately asking because they must be and I just must miss it. Are there rich people that are saying, yes, please, we need more tax cuts? Or is it exclusively white trash, meth addicted retards from the Midwest and the South? Are there rich people on these shows that are like, thank you, God, Trump, for giving me another tax break on my ordinary income tax or my capital? They must exist and I just haven't seen it. I'm just curious. If that is anywhere, can you please link it to me just for a fucking sanity check? Jesus.
Ron Johnson spoke out against it.
What's beautiful, Senator, as you see it, and what makes you cover your eyes?
This is my third.
What's your take on the last point? Having trade with adversaries is a good idea. All trade is good. If you're buying shit, it means you want it.
Spoke out against it, and then also Ron Johnson spoke out against it.
What's beautiful, Senator, as you see it, and what makes you cover your eyes?
This is my third column in a series of three, where I've been pointing out since the first of the year that we need to return to a reasonable pre-pandemic level spending. And I laid out the options. I think this was an extraordinary event pandemic. We went from $4.4 trillion in spending to $7 trillion this year. That's a 58% increase. There's no justification for that. So we have to return to a reasonable pre-pandemic level. I've laid out options somewhere between $5.5 and at most $6.5 trillion, which would imply a whole lot more savings than the meager $1.5 trillion over 10 years, $150 billion at most. By the way, and then we're increasing spending by $342 billion over 4 years. So again, the savings we're talking about in relationship to the $89 trillion we'll be spending over the next 10 years, it's barely rounding it. But at a minimum, we shouldn't be increasing the deficit. And I don't see any scenario that they're discussing right now where we don't actually increase the deficit over 10 years.
Also, I just want to be clear because people mix these numbers up a lot, okay? But you guys are a smarter audience. One of the things I'm going to be finding the most for is we just have to be factual, okay? Because, oh my God, this world is crazy. We have to be factual. We have to be factual, okay? You have your budget, okay? And your budget is your income and your outlays, or your spending, I should say. Fuck, whatever, right? Income, we make $10. And we'll say next year we make $12. And then next year we make $15, okay? Let's say that our first year we spend $20. And then next year we spend $21. And then next year we spend $23, okay? There's a lot of statements that you can make about these numbers that I think a lot of people don't realize. So in the very first year here, our budget deficit, okay, is the difference between our income and our outlays. How much money do we have to borrow from the Treasury to pay our bills? So if we made $10 and we spent $20, that means that we have to borrow $10, okay? So our budget deficit, our shortfall is $10, and now our debt is $10, okay? Next year, our budget deficit decreased. We made $12 and we only spent $21. That means we only have to borrow, okay? We only have to borrow $9, okay? So that means that our deficit decreased. However, our debt increased still. because we had to borrow $9. We didn't pay off any of our $10. Okay. So our debt was 10. Now it's 19. Our budget deficit was 10. Now our budget deficit is only 9. Sorry, fuck. This is the worst handwriting ever. Okay. So even though our deficit decreased, the only way, how do you make the debt go down? What has to happen to the deficit for the debt to decrease? Does anybody know? What has to happen to your surplus, negative, below zero? Correct. That's right. Yes. And then next year, okay, we make $15, but we spend 23. Okay. Now our deficit, our total spending grew, but our income grew even more. Okay. And now our deficit is at record low levels. Here, our deficit is only $8. So look at what happened to our deficit every single year. First, our deficit was $10. Then our deficit was $9. Then our deficit was $8. However, what's happening to our debt? Well, our debt is $27. It's increasing over and over and over again. The only way to decrease the debt is not to decrease the deficit. It's to eliminate the deficit. That deficit is a deficit of money to pay your bills, and you need to turn it into a budget surplus. Surplus meaning you have more than necessary to pay your bills. You have a budget surplus, and that extra money can be spent towards, I don't know if it's mandated to be spent towards it, but it can be spent towards, I think, reducing the debt. Can it be actually? Wait, can you spend money to reduce the debt? I actually don't know if that's true or not. It's not like you can forcibly buy back treasury bonds or something, can you? You wouldn't have to issue new debt at least, right? Oh no, that's how it would decrease the debt. Because as part of your outlays, it's probably servicing the debt and everything else. And then as debt expires, because it expires on a rolling basis, you just wouldn't have to issue more debt. So your debt would decrease because you're not having to take out more, basically. Yeah. Anyway, okay, sorry. But I'm just saying this because when you talk about the deficit is just the difference between your income and your spending, but your debt is always increasing as long as there's a deficit. Okay. All right. And then there's more like derivative numbers that you can get into as well for here, though, that make things, there's just a lot of stories you can tell when you're looking at graphs like this. Okay. So like, let's say for here, okay, let's say that something happens where we have a fucking economic resurgence. All right. But we're also spending like more money than like ever before. Okay. So what happens? We double our income. $30 we make, but we spend $35. So we significantly increase our spending as well from $23 to $35, right? Actually, fuck it. We'll say $41. No, we won't. We won't say $41. That's too much. We'll just say We'll say $31. Fuck it. So we still have a deficit of $1, right? We still have our deficit of $1, right? Because we spent 31, but we made 30, which means our debt is still increasing, right? Our debt is still increasing, right? So one question you might ask about this, right? If we're looking at this chart, when do we have the highest debt? When is our debt the highest here? What would you guess? In year 1, we made 10, spent 20. Our budget deficit was 10, and our debt was 10. Year 2, we made 12. We spent 21. Our budget deficit was 9, so our deficit went down, but our debt increased to 19. On year 3, we made 15, spent 23. Our budget deficit decreased again to only $8, but we still had to borrow it. Now our debt is 27. And then in year 4, we made $30. We spent 31, so we had to borrow $1. And now our debt is 28, right? We could say that, like, what do we feel like is our biggest debt, right? It could be, well, $28 is our biggest debt, but what maybe like when we're thinking about our debt, it's also nice to think about like how much money we're making. So on the first year, we made $10 and we owe $10. That's our total debt by the end. Year 2, we made $12 and our total debt is $19. Right? So as a percentage of GDP, it's significantly higher than year 1. In year 3, I don't know the math off the top of my head, but it might be even higher in year 3. $27 of debt to $15 of income, it's almost twice as high. It's almost 200% of our income, of our GDP. In year 4, the debt is higher, it's $28, but for the first time, the debt is actually less than our overall GDP. This is why I say one of the ways that you can deal with the debt is by increasing your income, right? Or increasing the size of your economy. And it's one of the reasons why economic contraction is bad for your debt, because it means the debt that you owe is technically higher as a percentage of your GDP, which is going to play into your ability to raise money, because taxes are usually based off of the health of your economy. The better the economy is doing, the more money people are making, the more goods and services are being sold, so the more taxes and everything, right? These are all just like different things to think about this. Sorry, okay. You all understanding this? Okay. It's just ways to think about all the debt, the deficit, how it plays into your GDP, what it means to have a, high deficit or high debt or any of that. Okay, sorry.
In relationship to the $89 trillion we'll be spending over the next 10 years, it's barely rounding it. But at a minimum, we shouldn't be increasing the deficit. And I don't see any scenario that they're discussing right now where we don't actually increase the deficit over 10 years.
I just want to say I appreciate.
What does inflation do to the debt? Inflation is generally beneficial to debt holders, and it's generally detrimental to creditors. So inflation means that you're technically lowering the value of the currency. And if you have a debt and that debt is denominated in a currency that's inflating, then inflation helps your ability to pay off your prior debt, because the money that you've borrowed is now worth less, right?
And I don't see any scenario that they're discussing right now where we don't actually increase the deficit over 10 years.
I just want to say I appreciate both these people saying this, because it is at least not lying to my face. It is really annoying, as I've been watching these clips, to have someone like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson come on a clip and just tell me this.
Johnson, it will just lie. Same thing with Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller and Mike Johnson are just lying and lying and lying. I should know where this guy's from. It's not Texas, is it? Ballotpedia. God, I hate this fucking guy. Wait, is it Louisiana? Is this the guy I'm thinking of? Yeah, Speaker of the House. Wait, he's Speaker of the House, right? Yes. Okay, is Louisiana District 4. This guy's fucking evil. But him and Stephen Miller just lie. And they play number games to try to trick you into thinking that the bill is actually good for the debt or good for the deficit when it's bullshit. I see all the crazy Trump posts. We'll get to him, okay? We're just building background for it, okay?
As I've been watching these clips, to have someone like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson come on a clip and just tell me this doesn't increase the deficit. To just tell me that it does, like, you can just read it. We just know that it does do that. And by the way, as someone who was critical of this during Biden's administration, when again, we were spending $1 trillion of deficit every 100 days in 2024 into the election. We are now spending more than that. Trump has taken that insane 24 deficit and gone up. We're just going towards the wall. And so I appreciate at least these two voices on the Republican side who are getting a lot of pressure from Trump and their constituents to silence themselves, speaking out and saying this makes no sense for what we ran on, for any sort of like fiscal conservatism. That led to this, which was a tweet from Donald J. Trump saying Rand Paul has very little understanding of the big beautiful bill, especially the tremendous growth that is coming. He loves voting no on everything. He thinks it's good politics, but it's not. The BBB is a big winner.
It's technically true. I think Ron Paul did the same. They just vote no on every single thing that is like a tax or military increase, which is funny, but
15 hours ago, Trump said, again, Rand votes no on everything, but never has any practical conservative ideas. His ideas are crazy, losers. The people of Kentucky can't stand him. This is a big growth bill. But he hasn't commented on Ron Johnson or Elon, both standing up against saying this bill is extremely damaging. This does mean that there's
he said Trump hasn't commented on him yet, but remember, this is just yesterday, so we're catching up.
Going to be a rift, I think, in the sort of MAGA right and tech right handshake alliance that existed primarily through Elon Musk being the bridge. I wonder what like the All In podcast is going to say now that their two greatest heroes, Trump and Elon, disagree. I wonder how they're going to handle this big, beautiful bill. The girls are indeed fighting. And I just can't stress enough how much I think this bill sucks ass. Very, very simply, it is like massive tax cuts. Half of that is funded by cutting Medicaid for poor people. And then the other half is just not funded. That's the deficit. This much savings through cutting healthcare, and then huge more spending from cutting taxes. And the difference is we borrow it. It's easy to hate the rich, but do you have the courage to hate the poor? That is fire. The answer is yes. Every chatter or...
Wait, that was a... What was that? That was a based quote. What the fuck?
And huge more spending from cutting taxes. And the difference is we borrow it. It's easy to hate the rich, but do you have the courage to hate the poor? That is fire. The answer is yes. Every chatter or comment I've ever crashed out on. I've hated many poor people. Imagine saving the government $100 billion for them to increase spending by $5 trillion. Yeah, I mean, that $100 billion is even exaggerated, but you know, it's very obvious. I don't know if Elon wasn't aware of this. It seems obvious that he would be, but maybe he's that clueless that...
Being so concerned about spending and running deficits seems like it lends credit to the idea that monetary inflation is all that matters. It seems like it would, but the issue is that in practice, it seems like it betrays that idea, because everybody says they're so hyper concerned about the deficit and the debt, and they do nothing about it, and the economy's still chugging along, and it was the the world leader, but.
The Doge thing was a song and dance show to give cloud cover to do these massive tax cuts and spending increases. Doge was not ever taken seriously. It was not real, and they were never going to actually cut anything real. And so all they did was cut some ideological.
There it is. Now, to be fair, I don't think A-Track, I don't know if he was ever on a different page for that, but correct.
Stuff for chump change and made no real impact on actual spending. And again, it was only supposed to last a year and it only lasted 4 months. They cut both the leaders by the first 4 months. It's a failure on every front. And at least Elon is stepping up, because a few days ago he said,
it's not like I agree with everything the administration does. So it's like we have differences of opinion. I don't want to speak up against the administration, but I don't want to, or also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing. It's not like.
What a change of heart, dude, from just a few months ago. So I thought this was his position. I thought he was gonna be like kind of slinking off into the sunset and like licking his wounds and going back to the companies and not talking shit on anything. But after this, I guess he changed his mind, had some ketamine, woke the up and spoke out and said, yeah, this bill sucks. So at least respect that, because I thought he was gonna do this. I thought this was gonna be this is only like a day or two before. We'll see what the long-term repercussions are. I wonder how Trump will respond when asked about it by tomorrow. My greatest hope is that somehow this Elon thing breaks the support for the bill and it doesn't make it to the Senate and it gets stopped. That would be awesome. What do you think Scott Bessent's stance on the big beautiful bill though? Almost everybody who worked with Scott Bessent prior to him joining the Trump administration says really good things about him. He's a very smart guy. I've listened to his speeches before he was part of this administration. Very smart guy. Why we have to get spending under control. Clearly articulated paths that America can do that. In the administration, he has really just repeated what Trump says verbatim. Now, I don't know if that's what you have to do to get any influence in there, but it's hard to know what he's thinking, because all he does is trot out on TV and say exactly what the party line is. Now, my understanding is that he, behind the scenes, has done some things to walk back the tariffs, has done some things to reduce some of the most insane chaos, has done some things to try and calm the bond market so that we don't have a fucking banking crisis. But he also might have punched Elon in the face, which is pretty cool. But I really can't give a thumbs up or thumbs down to Scott Bessent.
Bessent is supposed to be the only person who's sane in that cabinet, is what I've heard said over and over again. I don't know how true that is, but it's supposed to be. Yeah, because debt crisis has never happened before, Destiny, like how it created the U.S. I've never heard that theory before, that the debt crisis created the U.S., but okay.
So far until something happens. And right now, again, I'm thinking of one of these finance substacks I was reading, but he was like, listen, I've worked with Scott Bessent. He's a smart guy, but right now it looks like he's driving the country towards a cliff. And Scott Bessent, again, is one of the people that'll walk out and be like, well, this bill is going to reduce the deficit. And it's like, it's just not. Wasn't he the better of two options? Yes, I don't, not like it mattered. It wasn't like Trump was listening to my stream. But I like campaigned a bit for Scott Bessent because the other option was Howard Lutnick, who is a used car salesman level of grift and stupid. How can your message of reducing spending be marketable for political normies? How would you convince people that reducing spending is the biggest line item, is the good thing going to specifics? Yeah, I've been thinking about this. This is my main argument. Let me see if I can make it real simple.
Hold on.
Used car salesman level of grift and stupid. How can your message of reducing spending be marketable for political normies? How would you convince people that reducing spending is the biggest line item, is the good thing?
How can your message of reducing spending be marketable for political normies? How would you convince people that reducing spending is the biggest line item in the biggest line items? It's a good thing while going into specifics.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. This is
well, the answer is it would require you to actually have an honest conversation about the debt and have an honest conversation about our spending. But this is the issue, and this is why I argued with that Kaizen guy. No, it's not good. No, we're not finally talking about this thing. We're not finally having conversations about the debt. We're continuing to obfuscate, and we're continuing to not have conversations about it because we're lying to ourselves, pretending that we are, by having these ridiculous conversations about whatever tariffs and all this other bullshit. No one knows. No one is actually doing the things that need to be done to actually reduce the debt.
My main argument. Let me see if I can make it real simple. So we know that the main things that the government spends money on are Medicare, Medicaid, basically healthcare for old people and poor people, Social Security, which is money for old people, military, interest payments, and one more thing, subscriptions. Subscriptions make up 85% of the government budget. That's why we need Rocket Money. Thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this clip. Rocket
Money. Make sure to get your biggest 8-track subscriptions at destiny.gg/merch. and destiny.gg/subscriptions.
Money is an app that you link your bank account to, and it shows you every recurring subscription that you have that's being siphoned out of your account. Whether it's a gym you signed up for that you forgot to go to, whether it's a news website you signed up for, whether it's a Netflix or Hulu or anything. Any subscription where it's recurring, taking money out of your account, it flags it for you, it shows you, and you can easily one-click cancel it right from the app. Rocket Money's been a long-time partner of me, Marketing Monday, my content. I appreciate the support. It's an app I've actually used for years since it was called Truebill. It also has an incredible budget management feature where you can set aside money to plan for something upcoming you want to spend. It categorizes your spending. It's basically the best all-in-one finance app, especially for people in a modern digital economy, millennials, Gen Z. Like it's useful. And I highly recommend it. I want to thank Rocket Money for sponsoring this clip. And if the American government just opened Rocket Money and cut some of our useless spending, we could get towards balance. Now, the actual answer to your question is this. Of these four, you can't do
Jesus
anything about this one.
Christ.
And cutting Medicaid especially is pretty cruel in any way. So here's what you can do. One thing you might know, actually, Social Security, we won't even cut that. Let's look at these two specifically, Medicare and military. Now, what's unique about these is that they take government tax money and then go through very, 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 very price gouging middlemen. Medicare goes to drug companies and military goes to like military contractors. These companies have an incentive to overcharge as much as humanly possible, to milk us dry, not in the good way. So you have, like, for example, like a Northrop Grumman, or you have a Pfizer in the middle here who is, just charging absurd amounts, overpriced. Again, Americans pay more for prescription drugs, significantly more.
Just as a heads up, that's not true for the military stuff. It's not true for pharmaceutical stuff. People will charge as much as they can, but as long as there are multiple people competing for a contract, they have to push the price down as much as possible because the government is picking the best contract. So it's not really true. It's kind of, in a way, it's kind of the opposite. This is why people always joke about when it says like military grade. When it says like military grade, people will talk about how it's whoever was the lowest bidder, right? Although this is true of everything, that there are contracts that there are bids on, right? This is how markets work, but it's whatever.
More than every other nation on earth. And we do the same with military contractors. Finding a way to increase the government's negotiating power, like for example, in Medicare, we're legally not allowed to negotiate. We should be allowed to negotiate to drive the prices
That is true. That's really stupid, but whatever.
down. Or internal capabilities, in the case of the military, would be a way to massively cut the amount we are spending here to get even the same results, but for way, way, way less money. So these are the two areas I'd focus on first and foremost. I think this would be the primary areas. If I was trying to do like a Doge type thing, and this is a big thorny problem and you're fighting entrenched interests, but this is what you have to tackle. To make any real difference, I would look at these two primarily. Then I think it's worth saying that—
Is there a percentage of budget going to interest payments that scare you? Rent is at 40%, more than 20 just feels crazy. I don't know. I'm sure there's some number that's too high. I don't know what the number is.
Social Security right now is only delivered on the basis of age. So Social Security goes to old people regardless of their financial situation. The truth is, Social Security should probably only go to those who are under a certain income. It should be means tested. The idea is that it's a safety net retirement program for old people. If you are—
Personally, I'm okay with that. Maybe. I don't know if that is within the spirit of Social Security, though. Social Security is supposed to be like, that is your pension from the government, kind of. You pay into it and then you withdraw from it. It's like in a way, it's like a government savings account. I don't think I'd be opposed in practice to doing something about that. And like, just if you make over a certain amount of money, you just don't get Social Security. But I don't know if Americans would be okay with it. I'm not sure.
Or a wealthy old person, you should not be getting Social Security benefits. I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense. We already have a lot of wealth concentrated.
Shouldn't you know that number before you say whether our current debt is good or bad? I don't think I'd take a position on the current debt. The position I have right now is that we're not talking about the debt. We're not having real conversations about the debt. My guess is going to be reducing the debt would probably be good. When the economy is running well, you should probably run your government leaner. So do things to reduce your debt. And when the economy is doing poorly, then you stimulate your economy. This is why I said in the beginning, Trump was always going to be bad for the debt, because when Trump came in to a hot economy, 2016, he ran a debt. He shouldn't have run a debt or a deficit. And he increased the deficits. He was running historically high deficits before COVID. There was no reason for that. The economy was going well.
Wealthy old person, you should not be getting Social Security benefits. I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense. We already have a lot of wealth concentrated in the elderly. And the fact that a lot of us are paying taxes to distribute even more to the elderly is crazy. Now, obviously, if someone is poor and elderly, then of course, Social Security should not be cut for them. Additionally, easy thing you can do, if you're looking only to balance the budget, not to cut spending, is you can raise the Social Security cap, which says that you don't get taxed on it for above 50K of income. Somebody very wealthy pays the same amount of Social Security that someone very poor does. Someone like
You can remove the cap on Social Security. That would be just a dramatically huge, insanely high tax increase. I don't know about that. You could raise the cap maybe if you want, but the problem is I think money that's paid into Social Security basically only goes into that fund. I think it would be better to just raise the ordinary federal income tax, even your top brackets, rather than just lifting the cap on the Social Security tax. I think that gets weird for a few reasons. I wouldn't be the most opposed to it, but
Jeff Bezos or Elon should be paying more to Social Security, obviously. Now, it's politically unpalatable. It's like impossible to get past because they vote in great numbers, but that would be the ideal if we try to get towards balance. Try to find what should we actually be spending money on that is worthwhile and useful. And then finally, it's worth noting that I am now officially a television news pundit because they put my ass on MSNBC today. I got texted about this by like 14 people.
Why does that seem like regressive taxes so much? How does increasing your marginal rates on a progressive tax system for your income, how is that a regressive tax? The fuck are you talking about? If you make over 165K, you don't pay Social Security on the marginal dollar earned. Why is that good? Because the amount that you get out of Social Security is capped. You can only ever there's a maximum payout from Social Security, which is why there's a maximum income cap for what you can get taxed on to pay into it.
economic policy of the White House and have guided the president to enact stiff tariffs on all foreign goods. Is this a good idea? Yes, it's absolutely brilliant. That's it. They just threw in a big A clip about me talking about ChatGPT.
Social Security's tax is regressive. So is sales and VAT tax. Social Security tax is not regressive. It's a flat tax, up to the cap at least, which is like what, probably 80, 90, probably 90% of income earners in the U.S. Sales and VAT are arguably regressive, sure, but not every regressive tax is bad.
PT glazing on MSNBC. This happened today. It's awesome. It says youtube.com/HRockClips. Anyway, my lawyers will be in touch. They stole my shit. Me and Adish don't appreciate getting our content stolen without compensation.
Social Security payouts are based on earnings, not contributions. Aren't your contributions based on your earnings?
I demand $1 million in reparations.
Okay.